Well, this is very, very exciting for me. Not as exciting as if I'd been managing to be with you there, Francois. But I'm delighted to be joined by Francois Mitjavile, who's in Saint-Emilion at Tertre Roteboeuf. Normally, we do this interview just after we have all tasted together in the wonderful cellar there. But this year it's been a little bit different. We have tasted in the office last week. So we wanted to have a chat about what is a very, an interesting time in the world, but a very interesting vintage in 2019. So to start, Francois, can you describe a little bit the growing season and therefore how you feel that's made Roc de Combe and Tertre Roteboeuf and their characteristics?
Yes. Oh, it's not difficult to understand. The first point is to remind that the summer in 2019 was extremely hot and dry. The vineyard suffered from these hard conditions and matured slowly, because the photosynthesis was not in dynamic condition. So finally, the harvest was rather late, and we had a part of the maturation of the fruit which was made in autumnal conditions, That, I would say that is quite something that happens since about 10, 15 years, a new type of general kind of millésimes that I didn't knew when I was young. So you have a fruit that is at the same time marked by the sunny flavors of this warm summer, and by a fresh, by part of the maturation, which was in fresh autumnal condition, with a night rather cold and humid and days not very hot, So you have something at the same time ripe and dynamic, something. Another point to understand this vintage is to remind too that we had, fortunately, lots of people don't understand that, but fortunately, quite heavy rains in mid-end September and before the harvest. And this rain, because the fruit was a little bit hard, a little bit rude concentration, because the vine was in difficult condition to mature, the fruit suddenly came slightly degraded. We say in Français, attendri. I would try to say tenderized, because I don't know if the English word suits exactly softened, And the polyphenol, the structure, the tannins were slightly degraded under this rain and came much more expressive and graceful in their aromatic expression. By the way, it diluted a little bit the acidity and the fruit came more voluptuous. So you could say that you have a vintage which is quite dense, because the fruit was not big because of this hard summer, quite dense, but slightly degraded and gentle and brilliant, shining in the same time, because big part of the maturation was, a part of the maturation was in late summer and autumnal condition. You have something which is, I would say, dense, graceful, and dynamic. It will be the charm of this vintage, which is very exciting and very specific. Now, to finish about Roc de Combe and Tertre Roteboeuf. Tertre Roteboeuf, as usual, with this interior climate, is more gentle. It doesn't mean light. Gentle doesn't mean light. It can be intense, It can be dense, but more gentle, more approachable, more graceful, you could say. And Roc de Combe with a part of Cabernet Sauvignon and with the Atlantic influence of the estuary of Gironde, which is down the slopes. It's more temperated and is more muscular, more, you could say, spectacular. More. You could say powerful. I don't like very much this word because the wine is fleshy anyway. You could say muscular and spectacular. You can have this difference at this moment.
Okay, and so the personalities of the wines are. Do you think that the vintage, the differences between the wines show in the same way as usual? So they both have their individual characters as usual.
That is a very interesting point, because some years these two terroirs, just 40 kilometers of distance and on slopes and with the same wine grower, and the same work, you know. So they are really near the same family. But some years they are very different, you know. A rain, a storm here or not there, and some years, quite the most often, they are with their proper characteristic of the brothers in the same family in the same vintage. And in this year, if it is your question, Tertre Roteboeuf and Roc de Camp have really this characteristic in the vintage with their proper difference. As two brothers in the same family, they have it, and you know that it is 2019 in each grosses, you know.
And I think some people with the warm weather in July, June and July, how is 2019 different from a vintage like 2003?
I would say, well, 2003. Let's talk just about the great 2003s, because a part of the vineyard suffered so much of this terrible heatness that the tannins were extremely dry and concentrated, and you could say quite rude and rustic. But lots of tasters and great tasters gave 100 points on 100 because they are so powerful, you know, and it was not refined, in fact. But the greatest 2003s that could escape to this danger, they had something confit. I don't know if you have this word in English, you know, something confit in the fruit, which is quite marvelous when they could be fresh in the same times. It will not be the case in 2019, which will be more in a, I would say, pretty is not the right word because it's rich in flavor, you know, but which has which is more shining, you could say. And 2003 would be playing more profound, more deftness in the flavors, you see, due to the type of the fruit, and more hot in 2003, more hard conditions anyway.
Okay, that's very, very, very useful. And I think also you showed that there are so many words in French that don't quite translate into English because confit, yeah, it's a word of its own. It's like élan.
Oui, bien sûr. We had a great influence in your beautiful language, you know.
I don't think many people call our language beautiful, but it's a good point.
In addition, in 2003, one of the particular conditions was the days were hot and the night were hot and the harvest was rather early. There, part of the harvest at the autumn, a night cold and days not too much hot, you know.
So it's very different.
Timing, well, it doesn't mean better. It's a different character.
Okay, brilliant. No, that's brilliant. I will come back with one further question at the end on 2019 and where you think it ranks. But before that, a more general question about Bordeaux. And since 2010, arguably, globally, consumers have found pricing for en primeur quite difficult, and we've had a long run recently of perceived great vintages. So for the trade, Bordeaux is becoming a harder thing, a harder campaign. Do you think that COVID and the difficulty in financial difficulties in the world offer Bordeaux in particular, more than just you, but Bordeaux in particular, a chance to re-engage with the customer, to give people good prices?
Well, the question of prices, I do not agree. I would like to say that, you know, in Bordeaux, you have, let's say, the 8 first grosses. They are famous all over the world, and their quantity is limited. So the prices are completely exploding at a very high level. And this made a terrible reputation to Bordeaux, because in fact, you look lots of classified growth, lots of cru bourgeois. They are in front of our competitors, you say, you could say in the States, in Australia, in Italy. They are a very reasonable price, you know, finally. And in addition, they have this particular things which is very exciting, which is under this Gulf Stream moisture influence, what we could say the goût Bordeaux. The Bordeaux taste is particular touch of a sumptuous degradation of the flavors mixed with fresh flavors. So the prices are very reasonable, in fact. The question is when you buy en primeur. There are lots of Bordeaux. It's no use to buy en primeur. Then you can say you have not made a bargain, and you can say the prices are high because they do not get a higher value after in bottle. So you buy in bottle. They are fabulous. And then you will not complain about the price. And there are a few grocers, let's say on whole Bordeaux might be 30, 40 grosses, I don't know, might be 50, I don't know, a few grosses that are really valuable in primeur because you know that afterwards they will be either more rare because the demand is too strong or at a higher price. Then the excitement is high on primeur, this kind of grosses. So I would say the question is not a question of price, it's to be focused and efficient when you choose the grosses you buy on primeur and the grosses you will buy after bottling that will be of beautiful quality and beautiful prices, but you will not have invested and you will not have complained by the fact that they have not gained a lot because they have a reasonable quantity for the market.
Yeah, and there are those whose prices go up and down a lot, and someone like you whose price is more consistent.
Oui. That's a big problem. You are right. I never played this game for two reasons. The first reason is that if you have a great terroir, and then you know that we produce at Tertre Roteboeuf, Roteboeuf, pure vintage with never any selection to express the variety of the flavors, which is the most exciting in a wine, the disturbing strangeness of the character of the vintage, you know. So we do not make selection because the terroir allows to produce fabulous things. Then you don't make the yo-yo with the price because you go against this stupid reputation of what should be the great vintage. You know, the great vintage just means that the trade can build a reputation because the whole country has produced a good quality. But it doesn't mean more than that, you know. And we have here, at this point, 2017, it has been bottled. It's a pure marvel. It will never have a reputation of great vintage. But it doesn't matter. So I never played this game of price going high and down stupidly. But that, can you condemn in Bordeaux when everybody in the world and the amateur in every town, suddenly they want what is called the great millésime. So they get, so then it comes stupidly. I should say that I was talking with a broker just 2 days ago, and he said me, yes, at the property en primeur, the prices have to be regular, as I always played, and always consumer loved to buy my wines because they always were a good value, and I never played the yo-yo. But afterwards, once you have sold en primeur, in bottle, you cannot go against the market, you know. There are people, they are rich, they want just what they think is the best, you know. They want just the ninth symphony of Beethoven. All the rest, we don't want, you know. It's completely stupid. But you cannot play against that once the wine is in bottle on the trade, you know. You can make regular good prices en primeur.
Okay, and that, yeah, it's very interesting because I do think there is a big difference between consistency and I love the fact that you make your wine from your whole vineyards. If we talk about Roc de Combe for a moment, it's a wine I've always loved. But is there a vintage of Roc de Combe that you are particularly enjoying drinking at the moment? Maybe a younger vintage that's really showing everything.
Yes. Well, I'm a little disturbed because every day I taste a different vintage. Sometimes I like very old vintage. You know, people do not understand vintage older than 30 years old. I love that. Maybe because I'm getting older too, you know, and there is a good ecology. But no, in recent vintage, which they are so different. In the recent vintage, one vintage I love actually, really, it looks stupid and look interested because it has just been bottled. It's 2017 because I love the vintage that have a density in tenderness, charming flavors. By myself, I'm not especially excited by the rich muscular vintage, you know. Well, it depends on the plate, but it depends on the days, the friends you have and everything. But deeply, I would go naturally for the vintage that get your emotion by their aromatic charm, you know. And at this moment, I really love 2017. 2018 is in barrel. 2016 I would wait because it's very dense. Now I would wait some years more. 2015 I would wait. 2014 is very good at this point too. And an older vintage, obviously. Do I understand?
that's really helpful, and I know what you mean. I find myself loving young wines, and sometimes wines when they've been bottled, like 14,
Oui,
17, have a lovely completeness and freshness, which is brilliant. So
oui,
that
oui,
that
that's right.
leads me on to my last question, which is, I think consumers have seen Bordeaux 14 to 2019, a run of 6 exciting vintages.
Oui.
Where do you feel Tertre Roteboeuf and Roc de Combe rank in your run from 2014 to 2019? Where do you feel the 19 ranks?
I will tell you, it's completely impossible, and I will describe, very quickly within one word. 2014, let's say, beautiful, complete autumnal maturation flavors. 2015, extremely dense and fresh. 2016, dense and extremely marked by the sun, by the exotic sunny fruits. 2017, a graceful, gentle, dense flavors of charms, and evolved flavors. 2018, muscular wine. So then I described 2019 a few minutes we talked together. How could you put it? Impossible. I don't see, really.
No, Francois, I think I didn't expect you to give an exact answer, but I think that gives, we understand, because you make one wine from your vineyards as well,
Oui.
then the vintages are going to have different characters. So
Oui. That is essential. I think that in all arts, in food, in painting, in music, in literature, we are all in the dramatic condition of a short life where we'll never understand anything, finally. We'll die stupidly. And when we find something different, different music, even the same composer, we dream that we would catch a part of the truth, It's a dream, it's not possible. And when you produce pure vintage with their strangeness, it's something that is inside the heart of this type of romantic emotion in the flavors of the wine, you see?
No, it's perfect. And I think, look, Francois, it's been very kind. It's very good to speak, and we look forward to seeing you at Tertre Roteboeuf soon, as soon as we're allowed to travel. And I'm looking forward to trying again 2014 and 2017 Rock soon. I will take your advice.
Merci, Will.
But thank you very much indeed, Francois. It's been very good. Okay.
Au revoir.
Take care of yourself. Au revoir.
Merci.